Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with John Obolewski. John, this is episode 305, over 6 years
It's
of
crazy.
doing this. And
Yeah.
I think this one's really timely because I have seen a shift. I mean, the desire to grow the kingdom, to grow the church, that's been consistent in my 30 years. But before, if you said marketing, it was almost sinful because that was not a
Mhm.
biblical word. Now I hear podcasts where if you mention Jesus, I'd be surprised because it's all about marketing. And so today, why don't you introduce
Right.
us to the topic and your thought on how to balance these two ideas?
Sure. So the topic today is integrating a marketplace mind with a ministry call.
Yeah,
And I think I would just pose this question to our listeners and watchers. Have you ever felt a tension between running your ministry like a mission and running it like a marketplace entity?
yeah,
There's tension there, right?
yeah,
There are some pastors who worry that a marketplace mindset will strip away the heart of the ministry. And then there are
yeah,
other pastors who fear that a lack of marketplace acumen will be a pinch point, will be a
yeah,
limiting factor in the fruitfulness of their ministry. And so today, what I'd like to do is explore how both ideas can be friends
yeah,
instead of enemies.
yeah,
Uh, Ministry and marketplace wisdom. Now we have biblical examples of this, Jim.
yeah. Give me that.
Joseph was this amazing man of God.
Yeah,
He interpreted dreams. He had this amazing gift from the Lord. He was a man of integrity, but he was great at strategic planning and resource management.
yeah,
And his
yeah,
ability to do both of those things put him in a position to save many lives. Genesis 50:20.
yeah. Right.
Um, Nehemiah. I
Yep.
mean, he's a if you ever want to get an idea of how to do this well, read the book of Nehemiah.
Yeah.
He demonstrated this prayer-bathed, visionary leadership while at
Yeah.
the same time being a great project manager and knowing how
Yeah.
to build teams. I
Yeah.
mean, he had the spirit and he had the system. He had
Right.
the missional and he had somewhat of the marketplace
Yeah.
uh, thought process there. I mean, Paul,
Yep.
he ran a tent making operation along with planting and pastoring churches,
Yep.
as well as writing a huge chunk of the New Testament.
Yeah.
So he's a great example of this integration. And let me give you a historical example. If you know anything about John Wesley, I
No,
mean
huh?
his organizational method gave birth to the Methodist movement.
Interesting.
So you've got this
Yeah.
amazing man of God with an
Yeah.
incredible anointing on his life, but also this amazing ability to organize
Right.
and put things together. And our organization, Converge Coaching, we've combined the best elements of church ministry and the marketplace.
Yeah.
And we believe it's a very powerful combination. So I want to stop and
Okay.
I'd love to hear your initial feedback on this.
It's funny. I am not a disorganized person, but it doesn't come to me naturally. So I delegate those things to people. I try really hard not to drive crazy. I'm not going to do the budget. I'm not going to alphabetize anything. I'm not going to file things with the IRS. I'm not going to make sure we have insurance on anything. And that's a problem. So understanding that that is my problem, I had to find someone who loves to sit in a cubicle and count money,
Yes.
and figure out insurance rates. So it is inescapable today. You cannot succeed without having people that know details, that can analyze data, that can see trends, that know how
Yes.
to develop a website that's attractive, that, without marketing, we're missing great evangelistic opportunities because we're, again, here comes the quotation marks, led by the Spirit. Well, it's almost like the old story of the guy that changes the worship set in the middle, he skips the third song and goes to another song, and the person that's doing the overhead projector. Remember those old days? And she has
Yes.
to get into the thing now and alphabetize and find. She puts it up
That's
there,
right.
and they had the argument after service. Why'd you change the song list? He said, "Well, I felt led by the Spirit." And her response is, "Could you have felt led by the Spirit when you put together the song list? That would have been really convenient for me, you know." There's something right about what they're saying. So anybody that says
Mhm.
no, I'm just spontaneous and led by the Spirit. That's not as biblical as you might think. And oh, I'm led by data. That's not as practical as you might think. There is a combination
That's right.
where they inform one another and good, solid, wise plans are formed.
And I would submit to you that they are not enemies.
Yes. Yeah.
They are friends.
Yes. Yeah.
They help each other. So there are some risks that come
Yeah.
with this thought process, this practice of integrating these two streams, so to
Yeah.
speak. You can have too much marketplace and too little ministry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I spent 20 years in the business world. Not every element of business translates into the
No.
church world. And there is this real risk of turning people into numbers, hyper focus on efficiency over discipleship,
Yeah.
of being all business with little to no faith,
Yes. Yeah.
um, of leading harshly
Yeah.
instead of with a pastoral flair. Let me explain.
Yeah.
Um, I thought about writing this book, but I don't know if I have enough motivation to do it. So maybe I'll motivate somebody else to write it. Uh, I wanted to write this book called Bully or Doormat.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then the subtitle is Developing a Pastoral Flair.
Yeah.
Being a bully as a leader is unhealthy.
Yeah. It's terrible. Yeah.
Being a doormat as
Yeah.
a leader is
Yeah.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's not good for neither of those extremes are any good.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to meet somewhere in the middle. And
Yeah.
that's where we have this thing I call a pastoral flair. It's the
Right.
ability to be loving and honest at
Yeah.
the same time, to be
Yeah.
gracious and truth telling at the same time,
Yeah.
not being afraid of having difficult conversations with people. This is what I mean by a pastoral flair. And so one of the dangers of this integration is that I get too much marketplace and not
Right.
enough ministry. The
Yeah.
ministry is a faith operation first.
Yes.
Without faith, it's
Has to be.
impossible to please God. That's true
Yeah.
individually, but
Yeah.
I believe that's true collectively.
Yes. Agree.
So Jim, what do you think about this first integration risk?
Yeah. I like the thought that you were going to write a book about it. I was going to write a book on apathy, but I just never got around to it. I didn't feel like it. So that, I think that thought, again, we all want to do what works, right? We all want to be effective for the Lord. There's nothing
Mm,
wrong with that motivation. But I think even just by simply measuring the wrong thing, you can end up in the wrong
yes,
place.
that's
Our
right.
offerings have doubled. Okay, but why? Was it a faith reason? Was it a marketing reason? Because marketing comes and goes. You have to
Mhm.
market again a year from now because it'll all wear off. The whatever we promised them or threatened them with or whatever. I just again, let's be very careful. There's more people this year than last year, but at what cost? And
Yeah,
what's the depth of those people that are in the room? Are we making disciples?
sure.
Or do we have a nice circus that's come to town? Because as soon as the next circus comes to town, they'll go to the next circus or they'll drop away from the faith. I think
Right.
one of the big indicators that the church growth movement had some frailty to it was
Yes.
the deconstructionist movement. There were seeds that germinated and sprouted up quickly, but when something bad came, there wasn't any root and they faded away. And now what happens to those souls? What happens to those people that have been
Right.
disillusioned by a shallow Christianity? So I think it's be careful with business. And let me say this. I think business is a great servant of the Lord. It's a terrible master to the church.
There you
There
go.
should be a master, and that is the faith component you're talking about.
Yes.
But man, if we're led by 3% up and 4% down and market trends, I'm not saying it's not a dashboard, gauge that should be there, but it's not your altimeter. That doesn't decide whether you crash or not. And
Yeah.
so I think faith is that's the altimeter. That decides whether or not we're at the right
Yes.
altitude, you know.
Right. And I wanted
Yeah.
to start with that one first,
Yes.
risk, but I want to flip it now. Here's the
Okay.
second
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah.
Too much ministry, too little
I
marketplace.
agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Jim, I learned, well, it's fortunate and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I learned about HR, innovation, hiring and firing, navigating hard conversations in the marketplace,
Yeah.
not while I was a young pastor.
Yeah.
I should have learned that in the church world. I
Yeah.
should have been aware of and fluent, somewhat fluent at least, in those areas while I was pastoring in a church context.
Yeah.
Pastor, if you decide I don't want to do anything with that, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to preach and I'm going to pray and hey, all good stuff, right? But if you
Yeah.
decide you're not going to learn and grow in those areas, here's the risk that you run that your organization at some point will become misaligned
Mhm.
and it will be unable to care properly for the people God sends you.
Yeah. Yep.
We have both, Jim, you and I have both seen churches who have outgrown their systems.
Yeah.
And sadly, in a few cases, have outgrown their pastor.
Yeah.
Don't let your church outgrow you, and be mindful that some things in your church are spirit.
Yeah.
Our good friend Paul Firestein has taught me this,
Yeah.
and some things in your church are system.
Yeah.
And being wise about that. So that's the other risk that
Yeah.
we have very little of the marketplace good stuff
Yeah.
in our organization. What do you think about this second one, Jim?
Yeah. I think, people say, well, how would I know? I would say, well, if you've grown to a certain place and then shrunk back and then grown there again and shrunk back, that might be an
Yes.
indicator. The anointing's
Mhm.
there, but the systems aren't there for it to multiply. For
That's
example,
right.
if it's grown, but it's not getting any deeper, we're
Right.
losing as many. The back door spinning as fast as the front door. That
Yes.
might be a sign of a lack of ministry, right? So,
Mhm.
so Johnny, other thoughts on that? Well, how would somebody know if they got too much ministry or too
Yeah.
much
Well,
business involved?
I think one of the more common ones is you bump up against a certain size range and then you
Yeah,
come back down, bump up,
yeah,
come back down, bump up. Now there could be a lot of factors there, but one of the
yeah,
first things I think about is that the structural. There's probably
yeah.
some
I was
structural problems
that,
there.
that's
And
what I
when I
was
say
looking at first.
structural, it's just there is some misalignment or there are some ways that we handled things in the past that just don't translate
Yeah,
in a larger setting.
yeah,
And so I think that is one. I think the back door being as wide as the front door is
yeah,
another
yeah,
that shows we're misaligned in
yeah,
some way that we haven't integrated well enough. I think if there's one indicator could be, and I'm not saying it always is, so please take this
yeah,
with a grain of salt. But if we're not seeing any growth
yeah.
at all, maybe we're systematized really well, but there's no life
Right. Yeah,
there. So if I don't see people
yeah,
giving their lives to Jesus
right.
um, and some baptisms. And now again, that's all contextual, right?
Sure.
We see the posts on social media, hey, we baptized 350 people this week, and somebody says, I haven't baptized that many people in my entire ministry.
Right.
And they can feel bad about that. I
Don't
don't
do that.
want you to go there. Here's what I'm not saying is that you have to look at a church that's bigger than you, larger than you,
Yeah.
and you have to replicate what they're doing in order for you to feel
Right.
fruitful.
Yeah.
Uh, please, that's not what we're saying at
Yeah.
all. We rejoice for the 350 baptisms, but that doesn't make me feel less than.
Yeah. Yeah. It can't. It
But if
shouldn't. Yeah.
but if I haven't baptized anybody in years and nobody's come to Christ in years, I have to wonder. I might have a system in place,
Yeah.
but man, there's no spirit. There's no,
Right.
so I think those would be some places to start. Jim, it's
Yeah.
probably not an exhaustive list.
Yeah. What was it? Carl Vader said one time, right? Being a small church is neither a blank or a blank. What was that? Do you remember? It was either.
He said it's not an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm going to chop this up, Carl, so please
Sorry,
forgive
Carl.
me in advance. Um, he says, I'll just chop it up. But here's the deal. A small church is not an excuse to do things poorly.
Right.
It's not a problem if you
Yeah.
pastor a small church. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
but it's not an excuse either.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so be the best, be the healthiest,
Yeah.
most vibrant church, no matter what your size is.
There you go. That's it. That's it right there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the vibrancy and the life in that church
Yeah.
that makes the difference. And life is more sustainable. That life is more sustainable when it's supported
Yeah.
by good skeletal structure, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
we know this to be true about our bodies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so those risks, you can have too much marketplace and too little
Yeah.
ministry. And we've been aware of those types of ministries, and then
Yeah.
some that have the other side of that equation. Here's the power of this hybrid approach. Let's use vision and strategy as an example.
Okay.
So the ministry tool in that equation, vision and strategy, is kind of
Yeah.
like vision, right? It's
Yeah.
vision answers the question where.
Right.
Where does God want us to take this thing?
Yeah.
You can read books until the cows come home.
Yeah.
You're not going to find the answer to that question in any other place than on your knees,
Yeah.
fasting and praying
Yeah.
and seeking the Lord. Say, God, where do you want to land this thing?
Yeah.
Right? That's the ministry side of this. Here's the marketplace tool that goes along with it. It's
Mhm.
setting clear goals,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, doing some strategic planning. So when I integrate vision, which is what we would consider a spiritual or a ministry side of the world,
Yeah.
but without strategy and without the ability to articulate any kind of goals, vision just kind of dies. So
Yeah.
when I integrate, it keeps my vision on track, but it also prevents me from drifting, so to
Right.
speak, if
Yeah.
that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Does
Yeah. That
is
makes
that
good sense.
helpful?
It is because I think that the spiritual, we're just going to pray and the rest is up to God, or we're going to organize and we don't need God. Those are two extremes that would be foolish.
That's
We're gonna
correct.
pray and get a vision, and we're gonna commit our plans to the Lord, and he's gonna see them succeed. But these are our plans. We're committing to the Lord. So
100%
now we're gonna
right.
grow by 10%. That's not a plan, that's a dream, right? We're gonna grow
Yep.
by 10% by doing the following things. We're gonna go big on Mother's Day this year. Easter, we're
Mhm.
gonna do some marketing on social media and really put our best efforts into an Easter service where people are most likely to come to church. Those sorts of things.
Yep.
It's a plan along with the faith to carry out the plan well.
Yeah. Let me give you another example of a hybrid
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah.
It's um, this whole area of leadership in teams. Let's talk
Yes.
about
Yeah.
that. So, sort of the spirit side of that is discerning, do I have the right people in the right seats
Well, it's a hard
doing
one.
the right
Yeah.
things? And that
Yeah.
takes discernment, right? That
Sure.
takes the ability. The marketplace tool with leaderships in teams is delegation, creating a feedback loop
Yeah.
so that I can kind of see how things are going. I think one of the more egregious errors in my years of pastoral ministry within a church context was delegating and not following up,
Hmm.
delegating and not having there be like a check-in to make
Yeah.
sure things were going, and that created some real turbulence for me and for the church that I pastored. Um, but when you integrate this ability of discerning, are these the right people, and then this marketplace tool of just delegating well, and I think we have a whole podcast on delegation,
Okay.
and creating feedback loops. um, the benefit is that it frees a pastor from carrying the entire ministry load,
Yeah.
and it empowers other people to grow and develop and use their gifts.
Yeah.
And and so hopefully that's a thought. Like, one of our values is, and it's right here on my whiteboard over here. It's called Inspired and Strategic Solutions.
Yeah.
We believe in the power of the Holy Spirit to
Yeah.
help us, because we get into, Jim, you and I get into situations when we coach and consult that we think, okay, never seen this one before. Dear Jesus, help me right now because I don't know
Yeah.
where to go with this.
Yeah.
And and he delivers. He comes into those
Yeah.
moments, and some really cool things happen. but we also believe that God has given us a brain, He's given us experience, and He's given us giftings. And so
Yeah.
it's not either or, it's both. And when
Right.
we come together with the inspiration and power of the Spirit and the the brilliance that God has given to each one of us in various forms, it's just this powerful winning
Yeah.
combination.
Yeah.
So
This reminds me of, John, is then when the church multiplies early in the book of Acts, and now there's this concern because there's a certain group that seems to be being overlooked, and
that's
that could
right.
cause division along racial lines and gender lines, and it could be a bad thing. And so they
Yeah.
they talk about it, and I love that line, and it seemed good to us and to the Holy Spirit. And we carried out this plan. I like that thought of, we talked about it and
Well,
we felt the peace of God on our conversation.
that's the integration.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's right there. That's the
Yeah.
integration of it.
Yeah.
Um, it and you just summed it up so beautifully. So I think that for some pastors who are listening, you're already doing this. Like
Yeah.
you've already kind of figured out the integration of these two. And I'm not saying you're gonna ever totally figure it out. You're gonna wax in one direction maybe, and the
Sure.
Lord will
Yeah.
correct you and bring you back more towards center here.
Yeah.
But I think that I think it's important for us to just come to this place where ministry heart and marketplace mind are complementary.
Yeah.
We see it as complementary, not contradictory. It's not either or, it's both and.
Yeah.
You know, the ultimate measure of ministry isn't profit, it's transformed lives,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And I believe that wise, values-based use of marketplace strategy serves that higher goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying borrow the best,
Right.
most integrity-filled marketplace principles
Yeah.
and contextualize them in the in the field of ministry.
Yeah.
Um, I think that will help you. Um, I think that will help you to be able to conserve the fruit that God has placed in your care. And
Yeah.
by fruit, I basically mean people,
Right. Souls, change lives, marriages, kids, the next
right?
generation. Yeah.
So Jim, I want to I want to just share one next piece and then I'll have you wrap us up. Here's some
Yeah.
practical next steps. I just want to, this is like fast. I'm just going to give these
Lightning
real
round. Here we
quick.
go.
Yes. I would encourage you to do a ministry audit.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that. Where are we thriving spiritually but struggling organizationally?
Yeah.
Um, where are we efficient organizationally but spiritually cold?
Yeah.
Do some evaluation. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Um, I would encourage you to bring in trusted advisors who have some business acumen, who also love Jesus, by the way, and love his church. It's good to have a fresh set of eyes on your organization.
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting when I walk into a church for the first time, Jim. I I I have two struggles. I'm usually there to speak, and but I also know how to consult, and so I have to
Right.
tell myself I'm not consulting today. I'm not consulting today. I'm not wearing that hat today.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting that I see things
Yeah.
that the rest of that church is just blind to because it's just been there for so long.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as a ceiling tile that's stained,
Yeah.
or a door open to the mechanical room that any 2-year-old could go walk in and get hurt, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you just see things like that. Thirdly, I want to encourage, and I'm working on this in my own life, Jim, build some rhythms of prayer and discernment into all your strategic planning.
Yeah.
Just because a door opens to you, Pastor, doesn't automatically mean God is asking you to walk through it.
Right.
Be prayerful. And then finally, I would encourage you to come back to vision and values. If you've established and cast a clear vision and you have core values that mean something, make sure that the marketplace principles are serving those, not the other way around,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So these two, Jim, they're not rivals. They're
Yeah.
partners when they're
Yeah.
stewarded wisely. You know, your call to Pastor Jim, it's holy, but it's also practical.
Yes. Good.
And
Yeah.
so pastors, don't be afraid to take the best of both worlds and do some integration. Let's just see what happens.
Right on. And again, John, at the end of every podcast, we start to close it. I say, hey, and Converge would actually get a lot of joy out of being a part of this. So I know that, again, between the decades of experience that you and I share in both these fields, as well as an incredible team, we enjoy this stuff. I mean, we'll actually come to the church and do a full assessment of the staff, the teams, the service, all that kind of stuff to show you things. 'Cause I think so. We're going to assess this. I would not recommend that you, as the one leader, go into your office and give yourself a score of 1 out of 10 on your preaching. You should ask other people.
Yeah, you may be undervaluing your
You,
contribution if you say I'm a 1 out of 10.
yeah. I mean, I say from 1 to 10. From one
Oh,
to
I
10.
got you.
Well,
Okay.
I'm a solid 7. Well, based on against what? You know what? Who's the listener? What age group? What? Because I'm getting older, so I make jokes. I made a joke about Arnold Horshack in the front row of Mr. Cotter's class, going, "Ooh, ooh,
Nobody,
Mr. Cotter."
nobody know what you're talking
Nobody
about.
got it. I laughed, and no one who had hair thought anything about it. They loved it, but everybody that had hair didn't think it was funny. So it's things like that, like to get people to look at your books, to get people to look at your schedule, to get people to look at your staff meetings, to get people to look at your marketing, listen to your preaching, be a guest that comes to your church and goes through the entire process that a guest would. You will
Yeah.
see things through other people's eyes you'll never see through your own. So get other people's eyes involved. That's an encouragement. Wherever you're strong, find somebody that can make you stronger. Wherever you're weak, find somebody that can make you strong. And that's trusting the body. That's other parts coming together. So John, thank you for this. This is brilliant. It's as always, it's a great integrated, balanced message of wisdom, and we're blessed by it. So if Converge can help, let us know. Convergecoach.com. There's that little link. Click it and let's start talking about this stuff because your success is our joy. We love it when you lead in a healthy, productive, and lengthy way. So
Yeah.
God bless you, our dear watchers and listeners. We are praying for you, believing in you. This thing drops on a Tuesday. If you're still in the ministry, congratulations. You didn't quit. And maybe next week will be the week that changes so many lives. You wouldn't even believe it if we told you now. So stay in there. Stay in the fight. We love you as you continue to lead from alignment.